Welcome to Menopause Monday, and today we're talking about more advanced pelvic floor exercises. So all of these exercises are going to be safe for you to perform with a pelvic floor weakness. If you are brand new to my channel, I would highly suggest you go back, find the pelvic floor playlist and work your way through those, because it's all about making sure that you're engaging your pelvic floor correctly. A tight pelvic floor isn't a healthy pelvic floor. A strong and supple pelvic floor is. So it's about beginning to understand how to engage those muscles correctly, and also to have balance over the entire hammock so that the front, back and the sides of our pelvic floor. Today's video is very much about advanced exercises which you can combine with pelvic floor exercises that are going to be safe for pelvic floor. Some of the exercises today you might think are a bit of a struggle. I wanted to create a video that incorporates safe pelvic floor exercises, but also enables you to get really good all over body tone and strength, and also something that's going to support your posture, because when our core muscles are strong and working correctly, that also supports our pelvic floor. Our pelvic floor muscles are not just a separate entity to the rest of our muscular system. It's really important that our gluteals, our quadriceps, our core muscles, our back muscles, that everything, that entire sort of core complex is working effectively in order to support your pelvic floor health. So that's what today's video is all about. If there are some exercises in here that you think, oh gosh, that's a bit of a challenge, just do the ones that you can do. Work up to the ones that you can't. You will find that your strength will improve. They're all compound moves. They'll be targeting various aspects of your muscle groups within the same exercise. And most importantly of all, just remember to engage your pelvic floor while you're doing them. I do remind you throughout the exercises. And some of the exercises are designed to help you focus on one aspect of your pelvic floor in more detail than other exercises. So if you find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate your thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss further future Menopause Mondays. I release one every Monday. And if you've got a friend or a family member who you think might benefit, please tag them in this or share this with them. I think there is so much taboo around pelvic floor, and it's not something that we should all be accepting as a normal part of life, because it's really a simple process with small daily consistent steps that we can strengthen. Just because you've had babies, just because you've had surgery, doesn't mean to say that you should. And you know, there are other reasons, of course. I go over those in my very first video, but for the majority of us, pelvic floor weakness should not be something that we have to learn to live with. You can still wear the underwear that you want to wear without having to have leak-proof underwear. You should still be able to go running without worrying that you're going to leak. You should still be able to go onto a trampoline and have fun. This video is part of my pelvic floor series, and I really hope that you find it helpful, and thank you for your time. Before we get into our pelvic floor advanced exercises, we're going to do a few warm-ups, because we're going to be using quite a few different body parts, and I want to just make sure that your muscles are nicely oiled, warmed up and ready for the exercises that we're going to be doing. So firstly, you are going to get down on all fours, and you're going to put your arms out to the side like this, and you're literally just going to rock. This is going to stretch the biceps and the shoulders. And you're going to do that for just about some 20 seconds. And it's just such a lovely stretch across the front of the shoulders and the biceps. What you want to do when you're warming up, you don't want your stretches to be a long hold. Warm-up stretches need to be dynamic, which means that you're constantly moving, so you're not putting too much pressure on your muscles because they're not warmed up sufficiently yet. So next, we're just going to stand up, and we're going to so what you're going to do, you're going to tilt your pelvis forward. If you can, hold on to your foot with both hands, because you'll get more of a stretch. And then you're going to go into a scoop, a hamstring stretch. So as you scoop, you're just going to tilt your hips backwards and scoop. Again, on the other side, just going to take the take the heel up to the back, whoop, and then we're going to scoop. I'm going to just do this a few times, and that's going to warm up our thigh muscles nicely and also get our hamstrings feeling a bit more stretchy. We're not going to spend too long doing warm-up, don't worry, but I do want to make sure that you've done something before you start. And then that one. And then now, because we're going to be doing some planks, I want you to cross your feet over, and the back foot, whatever's behind, is you're going to lean away from that side. So you're going to hands up and over, and then you're going to tilt, because we're going to be some side plank work too. And I'm just going to swap feet, other foot behind, and then tilt in the opposite direction, and you're just feeling a nice long stretch across here. So do that a couple of times more. And again. There. And now you're literally just going to, it's like Barbara Windsor, I must improve my bust. It's one of the best scenes out there. But this is just going to help warm you up. Get some nice mobility in your shoulders. Warm up your arms a bit. Jump on the spot a few times. It's going to warm up your glute muscles, your bum muscles and your hamstrings. And now we're going to do the world's greatest stretch. So you're going to go down into a plank. Your foot is going to come outside of your hand, and you're just going to rotate. And now this hand's going to come down behind you, and you're going to open up even further. Pull it back across. This knee is now going to go out like that. Okay, and we're going to do it on the other side. So into plank, foot outside of your hands, rotate. Down the back of to the back, and then rotate even more, up over the top, push this knee out like that. And then now we're in plank, you can go back into a downward dog. You want to be elongated, you want to feel the stretch at the back of your legs. It doesn't matter if you can't straighten your legs fully, don't worry about it. You can just pad, so bend one knee at a time. And then we're just going to go back into this plank stretch again. The world's greatest stretch. Oh, I love this one. And then knee out, and then swap sides. And that means now you should be feeling nice and warm, and we're going to get started with the exercises. Our first exercise is something called the bird dog. It's going to be a nice exercise to engage your core, for you to get to grips with the pelvic floor again, and also to warm up the body, or to continue to warm up the body following our warm-up exercises. So before you do any of these exercises, just make sure the fact that we're doing these to engage your pelvic floor. So before every time we do them, just take a moment to make sure that you are engaging your pelvic floor. There are going to be exercises that we do today that are going to be specific to the entire pelvic floor, and exercises that you'll probably find will focus on one section of the pelvic floor more easily, depending on how your pelvic floor is firing up. If this is the first video you've come across of my pelvic floor series, do not start with this one. Make sure you go back to the basics. You want to be able to engage the pelvic floor correctly first before you start any strengthening exercises. That's absolutely vital, so that you're not overworking any aspect of it at all, that you've got a healthy pelvic floor that is ready and ripe for strengthening exercises like we're going to do today. Also, these exercises that we're doing today some of them are going to be pretty challenging to you. I will show you the modifications. They are going to get you great overall body tone. They're not just for pelvic floor, but these are exercises that are safe for pelvic floor. That's why I want to share those with you, because I think it's hard to find a combination of really good all over body toning exercises that are also safe for the pelvic floor. So that's what the aim with this particular video is. So we're going to start with the bird dog. So what you want to do, get on your hands and knees. You want to make sure your hands are beneath your shoulders, your knees are beneath your hips. And first of all, we're going to make sure we've got that posterior tilt. So we're not with our bum up in the air, we're just engaging our core. So our bum's almost started at the pubic bone, we're pulling it down towards the floor. Now engage your pelvic floor. So take a deep breath in and out. And now feel that jellyfish go. And now what we're going to do, your aim is to keep your body as still as possible. And we're going to take our right arm up and our left leg back, and then we're going to alternate. So as simple as this, but engaging the pelvic floor at all times. So come back down to the ground, engage your pelvic floor, try and focus on it, staying engaged while you're doing this. Engage your pelvic floor. And you'll find that as you're alternating sides, you'll feel the other side of your pelvic floor engaging. This is a great one for if you have weak sides of your pelvic floor. My right side is always more tricky for me, and I really notice it in doing this exercise. So we're going to do a few more reps. Make sure your head is in neutral. You don't want your head dropping and you don't want it up. You want your spine in a nice straight position. And just at all times, remember to engage your pelvic floor. That's the most important thing. You'll probably find when you're engaging your pelvic floor, you'll feel your glutes tighten up as well. That's absolutely fine with this exercise. This exercise is designed to give you a lifted booty, strong core, lean, strong shoulders and toned arms, as well as being good for your balance. And when you're doing this, try and stretch. So don't just lift your arm up and your leg up. Try and push your leg to the back of the room and your hand to the front of the room. You'll get a really nice stretch out of it too. So engage your pelvic floor and stretch. And down. We'll do one more on each side. So stretch, engaging your pelvic floor. And last one. Now, if you're feeling a bit tight in your lower back, just go back into child's pose. So open your knees a bit and just rock back. And you'll feel a nice stretch in your lower back. And you'll probably feel a nice stretch in your armpits. Okay? Now, ready for our next exercise, which is glute raises. Now, glute bridge is fantastic for pelvic floor dysfunction. I'm just going to move my camera down a little bit so you can see a bit more easily. Today I'm going to show you the standard glute bridge, but I'm also going to show you two strengthening options. So firstly, I'm just going to go down into the glute bridge, and you're going to make sure that you've got no gap between your lower back here. The closer your heels are to your bum, the more you'll be working your bum muscles. The further that they are away, you'll be working your hamstrings more, okay? So it's entirely up to you what you go for. I tend to have mine fairly close to my bum. So firstly, what we're going to do, just going to think about engaging our pelvic floor again. Do the jellyfish, get it nice and tight. Engage your core muscles, and now we're just going to lift up and up and hold it up for like 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, and lower down. And again, we're going to take it back up again. Engaging your pelvic floor, and just focus on having your pelvic floor engaged at all times when you're doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Personally, for me, this really helps me engage the rear side of my rear end of my pelvic floor. So up we go. 1, 2, 3, and hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3. You might feel a nice stretch over your quadriceps as well. And then back down. And then one more time. And then I'm going to go into some more advanced versions of this. So hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you're feeling a bit tight, again, just pull your knees into your chest. It'll stretch out that lower back area. Now there's a couple of strengthening versions of this. I'm just going to use I would normally use an 8 kilogram weight. I'm just going to grab a 6 one now.
use whatever way it works for you best. If you're starting out new to this, I suggest a light weight. And again, we're just going to repeat that exercise, but with a weight on our hips now. And you want something that is going to challenge you, because actually our glute muscles are incredibly powerful. Our glute and leg muscles are the sort of strongest, biggest muscles of the body. So we want to give them some welly, because they're actually more capable of doing, or they're capable of doing more than we actually believe they can. I'll do one more of these just to show you the move. And at all times, obviously engaging your pelvic floor. When I add weight, I can feel more focus on the front of my pelvic floor when I'm doing this. And then the next option is you're going to do a single glute raise. You're going to lift one leg up into the air. Now that's going to challenge you in a different way. So again, make sure you're nice and tight, your core is engaged, your pelvic floor is lifted. And now you're just going to go up on one knee, on one leg rather, and back down. And again, you can do that 5 times on each side. And when you're doing it, really focus on pushing your heel of the leg that you've got up into the ceiling. You will feel the burn over your quadriceps. And then change and repeat on the other side. Now you'll find when you're doing this, obviously focus on engaging your pelvic floor too. But this is probably going to take the emphasis to the sides of your pelvic floor, not so much the front and the back. So if you're able to do all 3 variations of this glute bridge raise, I would. We'll do one more. Oh, I don't know about you, I'm getting warm. Right, and then just again pull back just to get rid of any tension that's in your lower back at the moment. Right, next we're going to stand up. We are going to be doing bent over arm raises to the side. Now there is a reason. I'm just going to adjust the camera angle again a little bit. Sorry, this is what it is when you're doing it from home. What I want you to do here is you're going to be rotating from the hips. So stand up nice and straight, and then you're literally going to be rotating from the hips. You're going to keep a nice straight back. Your knees can be slightly bent, they can just be softly bent. And all you're going to do, as though you're grasping 2 weights, you're going to engage your pelvic floor. It's really easy to feel it when you're in this position. You're just going to lift your arms up like this. Now, if you're used to exercise, you can gladly add some light dumbbells. But the most important thing about this particular exercise is to be squeezing your glute muscles, your bum muscles, keeping your back nice and straight, engaging your pelvic floor, and just raising up like this and down. I would do 15 reps of this. Up and down. You want your head in a neutral position, so you don't want it hanging down. You don't want it up, just nice and straight spine. And all the while engaging your pelvic floor. Now that is the key, because with this, you're using your glutes a lot, you might feel some tension in your hamstrings. It's very easy to let your pelvic floor disengage, which is why I've added this particular exercise into this rotation of exercises, because I want you to focus, I want you to get into the habit of remembering your pelvic floor is the most important thing. So keep that pelvic floor engaged while you're just lifting up and down. The posterior deltoids, and in fact our entire rear chain of shoulder muscles and back muscles, tends to get very weak because we're hunched over laptops. So by doing this, you're going to be helping to correct your posture. Remember your pelvic floor, keep it pulled in. You might even be getting bum ache. I'm getting bum ache now from my muscles, but just bear with it. But just keep remembering to engage that pelvic floor, because we've got gravity playing against us now. And that is why I want you to do this exercise, as well as being great for your arms and your shoulders and your back. But it does make you think, oh, my pelvic floor's gone loose again. So engage it, engage it. And then we'll just do one more. Remember, pelvic floor in. Woohoo! my bum muscles are on fire. Oh. Okay, right. How are you getting on? Are you managing these? I will do some stretches to eke it all out when we get to the end of this. So next one, we're going back into our plank. If you really struggle with the plank, just do it for shorter amounts of time. The plank is one of those exercises which can feel just horrible to begin with, but it's amazing how quickly you can get better at it. You can also modify, you can put your knees on the ground. So I'm going to show you the modified version first of all. So again, make sure we're not sticking our bum up in the air. We've got a pelvic tilt downwards. And now you're just going to shift slightly forward. You can cross your ankles if you want to. And with this exercise, the idea is to keep our core really tight and not let it wobble. Also, make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders. And most importantly, engage that pelvic floor. Now you'll find the front of your pelvic floor is probably easier to engage in this exercise. And now you're just going to tap front and side, and then alternate, tap front and side. There will be a small amount of movement, but what you don't want is to be doing this, because that's not really doing anything. You want to keep your core as strong as possible and just do this. Now, if you're not modifying, you're going to be up in plank, nicely engaged, pelvic tilt, and that. If you're finding it hard with your feet close together, you can always make your feet go wider, but just make sure you're still engaging that pelvic floor. I'm going to do 10 of these, 5 each side. I'm not going to overly stress you. Make sure your bum doesn't rise up, and make sure you don't sag. But you can always add more to these if you want to. This really is just to sort of give you an idea of the types of exercises that you can do that are going to give you great overall muscle tone and really strong pelvic floor. Right, that's the last one on that one. Again, if you're feeling a bit tight in your lower back, just drop down into child's pose. You can wriggle around a bit if you want to. Oh, it's a lovely stretch for your armpits as well. I love that stretch. Right, now we're going to do a hinge at the hips with and without weight. So back up onto standing. Very similar position that we had in the previous exercise. So let's just move that up again. And this time we're going to be keeping our hands close to our shins. And we're just going to be lifting up like this. And every time we lift up, you're going to be engaging your glutes. So you're going to be tightening your bum muscles. You can use weights if you've got weights. And as you're doing this, remember to hold in your pelvic floor. So I'm actually going to use I'm just going to use my 4 kilogram weights. So you go nice, you keep them close to the shin, and then just pull up. As you pull up, engage your glute muscles. Go back down again, keep your weight very close to your shin and back up. And the power is coming from your bum muscles. So it's like a snatch, it's like up like that. You don't have to go that fast. And down nice and slow, and then up. All the while thinking of your pelvic floor muscles. If you have prolapse, or if you're recovering from a prolapse, I would suggest doing this without weights until you're feeling really confident. And this is going to help strengthen your gluteals, so it'll lift your booty. It's going to strengthen your hamstrings. It's going to be incredibly good for your posture. It's going to strengthen your lower back, as well as working your pelvic floor. It'll be interesting. See, when I do that, when I'm lower, I can really feel the front of my pelvic floor. And when I'm up, I can really feel the back of my pelvic floor engage. So just become really aware of what your pelvic floor is doing. You can do 2 more of those. And the last one. Good stuff. Now the next one is a bit of a doozy, I warn you in advance, but it's incredibly effective. I'm going to show you a couple of modifications, because if you're new to side planks, they can be quite challenging. So So you're going to go on our side. Now, what I would suggest you do if you're new to side planks, let me just move that down a little further, is, right, what we're actually going to be doing in this exercise is we're going to be doing a flying side clam like this, because it's really, really good for your pelvic floor as well as your oblique strength and your core strength. You can just do this, whereas you keep your feet together and you're literally just engaging your pelvic floor and lifting your leg up like that. If that is comfortable for you, and if that's all that you can manage, not all that you can manage, if that's the best exercise for you, keep with this. I'd rather you really focus on your pelvic floor and get that gluteal rotation rather than trying to do the flying clam. The other option you could do is to straighten out your upper leg, engage your pelvic floor, and just do small raises. And that, sorry, my dog's just joining, that is also going to work your obliques and it's going to help strengthen your pelvic floor. So you can do that, or you can do the flying side clam that I'm about to do with you. So what we're going to do next, so for this one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up onto up, we're going to be lifting up from here, we're going to be pushing away from here, so we don't want to be collapsing, pushing away into it, and all the while engaging our pelvic floor. So we're only going to do 5 on each side. If you want to do more than that, you'll obviously just pause this and then do some more. So we're going to go engage our pelvic floor and then up. Hold it for a second or two and then down. Up and down. Such a powerful exercise. And if you think you can't do it, try it, because it's amazing. I remember looking at this the first time around thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. It's amazing what your body can actually do. You might be feeling some pressure under here. We'll stretch all that out afterwards. But most importantly, engage your pelvic floor. Now, I'm not going to be doing the other side or facing you, because it's going to be X-rated. So I'm going to do it from the back. So we're going to do engage pelvic floor and then up and then down. And engage your pelvic floor, up and then down. And do 3 more. Engage your pelvic floor, up and down. Engage your pelvic floor, up and down. That is just one of my favourite ever side exercises. So next we're going to do one called the dead bug. I love the dead bug. I'm going to use a weight, but if you're new to this and you feel like you need to gain some core strength, you just do it without weights. So what we're going to do is you're going to get on your back like this and you're going to lift your legs up so your shins are pretty much parallel to the ceiling. I'm going to grab a weight. You're going to engage your pelvic floor and then you're just literally going to pull the weight over your head. Try and keep your knees at right angles to the ceiling and back across. The most important thing with this is to remember that your back stays flat on the floor. If using a weight makes you tip up and you get that gap, just drop the weight, get a lighter weight, or just don't use the weight at all. Because also just doing this without the weight, it's going to be incredibly good for your posture. It's going to stretch you out. It strengthens, when you're using your weights, strengthens your lats and your serratus anterior, muscles down here, which are incredibly important for shoulder stability. And when you're doing this without weights, try and get your thumbs to touch the floor. So I'm just going to grab my weight. We'll do 5 of these together. So engage your pelvic floor, make sure your back's pressed down, and we go over the top and then back up again. If you're holding a weight, make sure you're holding it really securely. You don't want this dropping on your face. Make sure that your pelvic floor's engaged and back again. Again, make sure your pelvic floor is engaged. And then we'll do 2 more. When I'm doing this as an exercise, I would do a round of 15 and then have a little break and then do another round of 15 and then possibly a third round of 15. There we are. Did I just do 5? I've lost count. We'll do 1 for good measure. And yes, you can touch the weight on the floor when you're doing that dead bug, if you want to, or just float it just slightly above the floor before you come back. It really depends on your shoulder mobility as to whether you can get right the way across, going backwards. So next we're going to be standing up. We're going to be doing a split squat, which is, if I just lift this up a bit, it's a more advanced squat. You can, if you're just enjoying doing the squats, just do like the squats we did last time. Just go down, make sure your hips are rotated backwards, and go down to, if you can get your legs sort of at 90 degrees, do so. But if not, just go down to whatever's comfy for you, and make sure when you come up, you're engaging those gluteal muscles, and of course at all times engaging your pelvic floor. But I'm going to show you a split squat today. I'm going to go with quite light weights. Normally I would do this with 6 kilograms, but because I'm trying to talk as well, I'm just going to show you with 4. So our rear leg is not going to move when we're doing a split squat. It is going to be bent, got feet hip width apart. And all you're going to be doing is going down in a split stance, engaging your pelvic floor, and you're going to be using the heel of the front foot is where the majority of your pressure is coming from. So that's going to be pushing you up. If you have tweaky knees, you're probably better to stay with the traditional squat rather than doing the split squat. But this, you'll find the side of the pelvic floor, which has got the leg forwards, is going to engage really well with this one. But obviously try and engage all parts of it. But if you're still sort of learning how each side feels, this is a really good exercise to help you become more familiar with strengthening each side of your pelvic floor. And then we'll change legs, and we'll do 5 on this side. But that back leg, apart from bending, does not move. And your weight stays pretty central in between your legs, but the pressure, the power comes from the heel of the front foot. You'll really feel this in your glutes, your hamstrings and your quadriceps as you do it. We've just got 3 more exercises after this one. Next one of my favourites, is the plank tap. It's a really easy one to do. It doesn't take too much thinking. So you're going to go into the plank. You can modify if you prefer, go onto your knees. And all we're going to be doing is tapping our shoulder. So if you're modifying, that's fine, stay on your knees. I'm going to go up into full plank. Make sure your pelvis is tilted forward so you've got like ugly bum. Engage your pelvic floor. And we're just going to tap our shoulders. And the aim is to keep our core as strong and as straight as possible. We want to avoid rotation like that. We want to try and keep it stable. And we're going to do, how many should we do? 15. That's about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, hang on in there, nearly done, 13, 14, 15, yay! Our penultimate exercise, you might be relieved to hear, is the dead bug again, but a slight variation of it. So get back onto your back like this. This time, oops, let me just pull the camera down a little bit more. This time you are going to be holding the opposite knee. So dead bug is like this. You're going to be putting your left hand on your right knee and just applying a little bit of pressure. And as you're doing that, you're going to be lowering your left leg and your right arm. It might be mirrored on the video as it comes through, so I do remember what my left and right are, but it might look like it's my left arm and my right leg, strangely. I don't know how that happens. But engage your pelvic floor, apply some pressure onto this hand, and now you're going to lower your arm and your leg. Remember at all times to keep the gap between the mat and your lower back closed. We're just going to do 5 on this side and 5 on the other side. But at all times engage pelvic floor Again, this will be a really good one for the sides of your pelvic floor. 3, and if you can get your thumb to touch the floor, do so. 4 and 5. We're just going to go up to center, other hand of the knee, and we're going to repeat on this side. 1, remembering to hold in your pelvic floor. 2, 3, and 4, and last one, 5. We're nearly there. I'm hot. Don't know about you. Good. These, if you can do these like 3 times a week, they're going to be so beneficial for you, for your pelvic floor, and also just all over body tone. So finally, beast to downward dog. So this one is going to end up in a bit of a stretch as well. Let me just move this over a little bit. So the beast is like you're on all fours, but you just lift up slightly. So you make sure you've got that ugly bum and you just lift off the floor. So you've got about a gap of about 2 inches between your knees and the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift up, engage your pelvic floor, lift up, hold it for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to go back into a downward dog. Then you can breathe a breath of fresh air. So then just, if you can see, just pad your heels like this. Bend one knee at a time. It's just going to help stretch out your legs. And then we're going to go back into dead bug, the beast. Hold it for another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, your pelvic floor needs to be engaged. And back. You can pad out. And while you're doing this, also, remember you'll keep the pelvic floor nice and engaged, because when we're inverted like this, it takes the gravity off our pelvic floor. It's a lot easier to actually get it to sort of do that jellyfish upwards movement. And back down to beast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And stretch out again. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more go round. Back to beast. Engage that pelvic floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woohoo! We've done it. Right, now I'm just going to show you a few very, very quick and gentle stretches just to ease it all out again. So the one we started with, we're going to start off with again. We're going to just stretch out our shoulders, our biceps, just for a few moments. Okay, we're also going to just take one arm across over the other, like that. Just stretches out the size of your shoulders. Open up. And again, over there. And then next we're going to do our triceps. Oh, mine are tight. So what you want to do here is try and push it down so it's down the back a little. Don't know if you can see there. And then the same on the other side. I'll hold that for a few seconds. We're going to do a little bit of hip rotation. So sit with your knees in front of you and you're literally just going to rotate like this a few times. Oh, that's nice. You'll feel that in your glutes a bit. And it just helps to open up the hips. And now, do that a few more times. Oh, makes me shift forward. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to lean over our front knee. And that is going to help stretch out your glutes and also your thigh muscles. And your inner thighs as well. And then on the other side. Oh, I can really feel that in my glutes. Right, another one. Put your legs out in front of you. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Put one leg over the other. So cross it over like that. And then your elbow goes to the outside of your knee. Sit up straight, tall, and then twist round. It's a really nice glute stretch and also back stretch. And on the other side, you want to be well balanced. Ooh. And then we're going to stand up. Just adjust this again. Now, depending on your shoulder mobility, you're going to pull down like this. So clench your fist, pull down, chest up to the ceiling, and then you're going to scoop over the top, hands up and pull them over as hard as you can. And then if you can do, roll. But it's a really nice stretch over the sort of the lats and the back of the shoulder and the underside of the shoulder. And it also helps to stretch out your lower back. You can sort of, just dangle a little bit like this. And then undo. Now go into get the horse. So you're going to sit like this. So your legs are wide apart and you're just going to move around a little bit. It's just going to help open up those hips. Go into like a deep squat position. And as you come up, keep your hands on the floor if you can. And just stretch. Lower down a bit. Stretch. Lower down a bit. And stretch. And then finally, I'm going to go to these quadriceps again. I'm just going to give them a nice stretch. This time it's going to be longer. So you're going to push your pelvis forward. And you're just going to feel a nice stretch across the front of your quads. And on this side, push your pelvis forward. Keep your knees together. And that's going to give you a really nice stretch down the front of your quadriceps. And that's it. I really hope that was helpful. I would, like I say, do these sort of 3 times a week. If you feel that you can do more reps than you feel like you need to challenge yourself even more, just add more reps into it. That's completely acceptable. What you want to do is just make sure you're not feeling too sore afterwards, and when you are feeling a little bit achy, just make sure to stretch it out. So hope that was helpful, and let me know in the comments if you're noticing any difference in your pelvic floor strength. You certainly should be if you're practicing the exercises I've shared in previous videos with you. And please tag a friend or share this with somebody who you think might benefit from it, and give me a thumbs up or subscribe so that you don't miss any future weekly series or weekly videos. Have a great day, and thank you.